caste also existed as guilds of craftsmen and merchants. So because you can see a lot of castes which are specifically weavers, carpentry,
That's
temple
a different
building.
thing, though. Can we not name it
Agreed.
caste?
No, I just want but that is they still
Because if
come
you
under
call it
caste.
caste, here's a problem I have with that, right? If you call that caste, and there's not a problem with that, okay? And then
Right.
people are like, well, I guess there's nothing wrong with caste, right? So I think we should name that something. You should use a different.
That's
We should use a
precisely why.
guild.
Yeah, that's precisely why. Because I'm saying, okay, the strategy is yours, right? But what I'm saying is that this is also considered caste in India, right? So given that, if you isolate that better, you can be more pointed about your criticism there, right? So, but because all these things intermingle, like, so that there's an interweaving of all of these things. So if you're going to talk about caste, then all of these things are sort of like people are going to not look at the actual problem, and they want to be looking at all of these other things also, and they'll your point becomes more diluted, right? And will not be taken so seriously. But if you focus only on that and you sort of isolate these things,
Right.
and you're like, okay, that is the thing. Like, for example, we would say, Muslims are not the problem, but this is the problem, right? So Islam, these are the things which are the problem.
Right,
That's what
right.
you
So
say.
you're just trying to equip us so that we could find the real caste system that is important.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay.
So these are the different ways in which caste functions, and I'm not going to talk about religion and all right now, and yeah, I'm not going to talk about sexual morality also. Okay, so I think that's pretty much like the focused part about caste, right? So this is how caste functions, and like as I said, now Kshatriyas are people who just ended up with power and they became Kshatriyas, right? It's like there was always tribal upsurge, like upsurges here and there, and they weren't Kshatriyas to begin with. For example, up in the north, you had every caste that exists, like Yadavs and so on, they all had their own empires at some point in time, small kingdoms. And today they're called backward castes, but they were kings at some point in time. And they came from nothing, but then they took up the niche of Kshatriyas, and then at some level, people sort of gave themselves those titles. They gave themselves those titles, and they became more and more. They legitimized their power. That's really how. If you really look at it, there have been a lot of castes. A lot of castes have had power. They've lost power, and there's been like this, turning of
Right,
events.
but the caste system, the caste ideology that came out of religion inside Hinduism as a scripture itself, that had a very strict, not the original one, but the one that is like more to not the 5,000-year-old one, but the 2,000-year-old one. That has a very strict place for like understanding of where every caste is supposed to be in society, and it was based on heritage. It wasn't based on merit. Like you had the warrior class, the priest class, and that was like, that was not like at that point. These people were not like going up and down the social ladder. They were like, no, this is where you belong. You belong at the very bottom, or you belong at the very top. Like that, and that comes from a religion. That idea comes from a religious authority.
There is definitely some element of religious authority. At least in my area, there is no religious authority to being upper caste. But in the north, there is. Although those white areas are all areas which have that problem. So in the map, these are the areas where caste is justified by religion. So especially UP, that particular area has the problem. Uttar Pradesh, right? So these are areas which also have they're just high in the scale of religiosity, because these are areas where even Muslims are more religious than other areas, right? So Hindus are more religious, Muslims are more religious. So Muslims tend to be.
What do you think happens if I go to Uttar Pradesh?
Oh, I don't know if Hindus will screw with you, but I'm sure Muslims will screw with you with your history. So there's I would say.
What defines screw with you?
Screw with you means, for example, there's a guy who was killed there. Because he insulted the Prophet once. So that happened to him, and I would say, I mean, if you hurt, you'd probably get beaten up by Hindus. 100%, you'll get beaten up by
100%.
100%. I mean, if you are identifiable, I think most people won't identify you. Nobody will be able to know you, right? Because internet isn't all that prevalent. And again, these are the
people. But if I announce that I'm going to Uttar Pradesh and then I show up at Uttar Pradesh,
oh yeah, for sure, you'll get beaten up by Hindus. I don't know what the Muslims would do, but 100%, all of them will complain to the cops. And knowing you're an international figure, you will be first taken into police custody. Right, so the cops will catch you, and it's partial, right? So that's the reason why in India you have this religious sensitivity laws and all of that, because both sides are crazy, right? So irrespective of who offends who, there is going to be social damage, and most people don't want.
Divya in the live chat is saying, my grandparents used to respect Dalits, but my parents' generation has a different kind of hatred towards them. I don't know why.
I'll tell you, so anyway, so coming to Divya's point, right? I'll tell you how, because I just went through a few calls with my grandfather and my dad. And what I learned is that my great-grandfather's generation, it is true that, there was not a whole lot of intermingling between the general population and the upper caste. The upper caste is, or at least my family. I mean, see, it's a sample size of one, right? So it's so they didn't and they didn't share utensils and stuff, right? So that's one thing.
3 minutes, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's how my great grandfather's generation was. My grandfather's generation became less, what do you say, they know, like in their heads, they know who is who, right? So they know which caste, who belongs to which caste and all of that. They know it in their head. But you know what? There's a lot of boss and servant relationship that exists. And there is also a sense of authority in villages that comes with being rich. Actually, that's really what it is. And also it's sort of old power. So that's what exists. And but at the end of the day, if you are, but they don't see caste when you're educated. They don't see caste when you come from another village, right? So it's only entrenched in that local reality, right? And by my parents' generation, for example, my father, he switched against sexual morality, right? Like, I mean, he was a hello.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I can hear you.
he was he broke out of sexual morality. That's his achievement.
We're gonna talk about sexual morality next time.
No,
that's just gonna be a cliffhanger.
I'm just saying progression of generations, right? So he came over sexual morality to some extent, and but he's still married within the caste, right? So he's still married within the caste. So it is also because you have all these like soft ties, right? So because you belong to a certain caste, it's very identifiable. Your friends disproportionately tend to be from your own caste, and so you're going to end up meeting a woman from your. No. Okay. Then my generation.
Okay, go on.
And then
last point, like few seconds. Okay.
Yeah. And then we'll come to my generation, and with my generation, what you'll see is that. Like I have no idea who belongs to which caste, right? So it's like you do, but that's in the city. I'm very urban.
Yeah,
I share.
So not in the rural area, it's worse. But let's end this here. Yeah, let's end this here.
Let me explain the last, like the final points. And
I was trying to get this under an hour, but go on.
Oh, okay.
So no, tell me.
So in my generation, it's not very identifiable. Me and, for example, my driver, he certainly, again, that's privilege, but this is like urban privilege, right? So my driver and I, we share and so on. So I'm saying there's been a change, and you don't even see who belongs to what identity. And even my parents are like, you're getting to 32 years. We're a marriage obsessed society, right? So you're getting to 32 years of age. Just get married to whoever you want, right? So
Okay.
they've
Got your point.
that's where India is
got it.
today.